Hello everybody, my name is Gerone Wright and you're joining me once again on my Geronification channel here on YouTube. In this video, I'm going to go back to Mount Rushmore. Okay. Since my last video that I did on Mount Rushmore, I'm telling you that each one of these presidents has a curious religious background, religious beliefs, and position on religion altogether. 3 of the 4 faces that are here are rumored to have had homosexual encounters or affairs, are rumored to be homosexual. But beyond that, I am paranormally drawn not to these faces, but to the faces that I see, the multidimensional faces in the rocks. And once I'm drawn to an image and I start drawing on it, other things come to me and a brighter and bigger picture comes. Sometimes it comes a few days later. However, I already created a video. I'm going to give you I'm going to try to create an amazing video here for you that you can be drawn into in a way that I'm actually drawn into. Okay, so I'm going to show you something. This is what I start out doing. When I made since my last video pertaining to Mount Rushmore, I started first looking at the heads, stating that I know that in order for these 4 presidents to have their faces here on the side of these cliffs, which are an ancient cliff, an ancient monument that already depicts glyphs of our ancestors that are already there. So I know in order for these guys to get here and for the sculptor to create this, I mean, all of the above, the whole entire scenario had to be paranormally put together, so to speak. Alright? An ancient chemistry around all of it. Not just the people that are being depicted, but the concept, the idea, and the sculptures that created this massive monument of the 4 presidents there in the side of this cliff. Now remember when I told you that already that I know that this area in South Dakota was already linked to a discovery of mine, which I've discovered to be in needles, where actually I showed you that needles has faces of our ancestors, which was apes that were depicted in the cliffside. And I'm going to go through that real quick with you. A few years back, I discovered that needles, if you go in the archive images, you will find that there is an image of mankind's first ancestral ape there. There is the likeness of the ape as we know it there. And then there's an image of a man right there. And the archived images of needles, if you go all the way back, you will see faces in the peaks of these needle cliffs there, mountaintops, and namely an ape. Now I'm going to bring the ape face up since I actually went there. There's a monkey's face there, people. There's its lips, there's its snout, there's an eye, left eye socket, right eye socket, and if that ain't good enough for you, in the forehead is another image of a creature. There's its lip, there's its chin, there's its eye, and there's its nose. In the face of a face, and then if that's not good enough for you people, there's the face of a woman right here, who is the mother of creation, facing in, and her eye is utilized to make his eye. And also I'm telling you that there is an image of an eye that is actually there. So go into archive images of that location and you see what I actually see. If you want to see my video here on this, I have multiple videos here on Black Hills, my Black Hills discovery. So go there. But again, so there's no mistake here allowed, people. The chimpanzee is our closest ancestor. Look at the tight lip, look at the protruding snout, the nostrils. Look at the tight closed lip. Look at the protruding snout, nostrils. Look at the bridging, the skin over the eyes, and then there's the eye socket. There's the bridging, people, over the eye sockets, and then there's the eye sockets. Okay, the face of the ape is in there. It shows you another likeness of another creature right there. Okay, same again, tight lip, chin, nostril, eye socket. This eye socket over here is missing, but there's a head in the head, reminiscent of what we see in our ancient Egyptian times, where these beings are depicting beings in their foreheads. And here we have it in lifetime, in real time, writing needles in South Dakota, and at the top of the mountains, with other multi-dimensional images there. All right, let me go back to Mount Rushmore, because I have an amazing discovery for you about Mount Rushmore. The artist, or the sculpture from this, actually is from South Dakota. I'm not going to go get in all into that right now. I'm going to let that go. But let me just take you right into what's happening here, what I can see. I started drawing images on the rocks. Here's the heads here, people. And what I was drawn to is because I know that this here, I see this portion here as a winged being. Okay. And I know that we're associated with dinosaurs, with the serpents and all of that. So and with the apes and all that. So I start looking for multi-dimensional images. And I don't know if you can actually see some of the faces that I actually drew here. Let me go back down. Here, I drew a face of an alien-like creature here. Right there in the round. I'm just going over his head. Coming around here. And that completes his face. There's his lips. There's his bottom lip. Top lip. Nostril. There's his right eye, left eye, and then it has an eye in its forehead. I drew that image there based on what is already there. Then right in his chin goes into the forehead of another being. Right over top of his right eye, left eye, there's his forehead coming down around his left cheek. There's his nose, and there's his mouth, and here's his chin. So that's two beings morphing each other. Then come over here. There's another being. Right eye, left eye, nose, lip, bottom lip, chin, okay, facing that way. Then here, there's another being. In every portion of the rock, I see these beings. So let me show you an ape that I made in the shadows. Here's your chin, bottom lip, mouth, snout area, coming around to the eye, forehead, okay. And then the shadow of the rock helps create that blackened portion of the hairy form of the face and cheek area of the ape and the head area of the ape, right there. And then all down this cliff, I'm seeing similar images, okay, and I have them drawn out even here. Eye, nose, mouth. Now, let me tell you what happens when I start doing this. When I start drawing these images, I don't stop, no matter how minute or how silly they might seem or how unimportant that they might seem. I keep drawing because now I'm calling on the intention of the energies that is surrounding this unique location, which is paranormally linked with space. And as I'm drawing on these images, the energy that flows through our world that relates to this location and to space comes into me and shows me what is there. Now, here I'm drawing all of these images, and I just pointed them out to you. You can see the faces now. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, and there's one there. And you start seeing these faces run and bleed together. And then I try to stay off of the portion that's actually been dynamited or been sculpted. So I take a break from it after, and you know what I mean. I'm not satisfied because I want something huge that we can see. You know what I mean? So I'll walk away from it, and I'll keep coming back to it over a period of 1, maybe 2 days. And this is what happens with me paranormally, being linked to this. So now, mind you, that these beings, the energy, the existence of these beings paranormally, are swarming all around me and pushing me back. Now that I'm woken them up, and they say, oh, he knows we're here. He knows this is here. Let's keep pushing at him. Let's show him. I mean, these things, people, are going back and forth and tugging. And instinctively, already in my mind, I know that there is something bigger there. So, what else was I doing? I started drawing in the hair of George Washington here. Put a lips there. Put nostrils there, and kind of sort of put an eye, and got kind of excited because it looks like almost like that of a face of an ape. Then I went over to where we at here. I think it's Lincoln, I believe it is here, and again I see a face of a creature. So I would Google the images. You see that? See that there? I would Google the images and see if it was anything to it. And I couldn't really grasp, even though I would want to see it. See, like there's a left eye, right eye, nostril. See the mouth there in his hair. And this is how the Renaissance artists encrypted their artwork. So instinctively I'm drawn. I seen something in the beard there. And then finally, I got tired, and you know what I mean, I turned up my paranormal energy, and I said, I want to see what it is that is here. So, just today, it hit me headlong. It hit me like a ton of bricks. That it's my position that these men are paranormally linked to that of what is being suggested by their heads being depicted in the side of this cliff that I'm telling you is a special location, which is a special location that actually has that of images, multidimensional images of our ancestors in the backdrop here. And if you look at that image in certain angles, you can actually see other faces that are in these rocks. But okay, there's no proof as to what I'm suggesting with that, because I mean it could be anything. So what I've discovered, though, however, let me pull the images back up, because now that I've placed them all over the place, is that there is in fact something there. And I discovered it. Which now I found one of the pictures. Now I need to find the other. Where's the picture at that I draw on? I draw on one. Okay. Here's an image here of Mount Rushmore. Another one, of course. And this one is, I'm going to show you what I've discovered that is truly amazing. I know that our existence is caused by that of the dinosaur, that of the reptilian ape, and that of the woman image, which is the mother of creation. These images are everywhere. Okay, I found the other. These images are everywhere. And they're multidimensional. And wherever there is a reference of mankind and how mankind was genetically altered and genetically created. And there's a monument on this megalithic of a scale. Then I can show you what is being stated. We evolved from from dinosaur, which is represented through that of the serpent, okay, and through that of the ape, And through that of the woman, which is the mother of creation, who I know what she is a representation of, but I'm going to leave that out of there for now, people. Okay? Now, let me show you. This is nothing. These heads are nothing. Notice that how Lincoln and who's there? We got Thomas Jefferson, and who else is there? Thomas Jefferson, and I forget the other guy. I forget the heads. Well, I don't. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Abe Lincoln, and who was the other one? Let me see. Well, I forget the other president's name that is up there, to be totally honest with you. The artist's name is Gutzman Bergulum. Gutzman Bergulum. Well, anyway, where are my... Okay. Let me get the names here, because I'm feeling kind of stupid here that I've been drawing on this thing for days and I don't know the names of these guys. Okay. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and who else? Edison? No, not Edison. Who the hell else is there? Theodore Roosevelt. Okay? Alright. I'm not going to name them again. Now, notice the separation here. That they are apart. That separation creates two things. It creates a mouth and it creates an eye. It creates the mouth of a woman, the mother of creation, and it creates the eye of a reptilian ape at the same time, depending on which way you rotate this image. Now, I'm going to show you the reptilian ape first because that is more compelling. The chin, the mouth line, coming over the top of the top lip, the nose. George Washington's head creates the nose, the point of the nose, and then these going across to our other presidents here, Edison and Roosevelt and Lincoln, and right just before Lincoln, there's the eye of that reptilian being, and then the forehead comes out. Lincoln's forehead is at the forehead of that reptilian being. Lincoln's forehead creates the forehead, starts the forehead line of that reptilian being, which is a cross between that of a reptilian ape and reptilian man. Look at the nose, people. Creates the heads create the snaky-like nose, or the reptilian-like presence of that creature, and then there's the eye socket. Look at the cheekbone, the way George Washington's chest cavity comes down and creates the facial line of that creature. You see that? A perfect face of one of our ancestors right there. Look at that. A perfect face, people, of one of our ancestors, which represents that of man. Now, let's go to woman. All we have to do is just flip it over, and as you see, nothing is done. There's her chin, there's her crusty lips, created in the face of that, in the head and the face of Abraham Lincoln, creates her crusty bottom lip. Coming around, I don't know who, if this is Roosevelt, okay? Creates her crusty top lip. Look at the lines of the faces of these guys. Look how clever Lincoln's face and Roosevelt's face creates the point that makes the mouth opening, which is also that of the ape when you turn it in the other position, people, come up to the nose and then the eye, and lo and behold, there's this serpent encrypted in the rock, which creates the image of that of Medusa, the snake at the head, the Egyptian-style snake at the head of this woman, which represents that of the presence of the dinosaur and the reptilians. Now, lo and behold, these encryptions, remember I told you that there were multidimensional images that was already present there? There's the head of a horse that is already present. Other images, people, and there is another image of an ape down here. Let me see if I can pull that image of that ape up without. Is that ape already drawn out? Or do I have to turn it? I think I have to. That image of that ape is, I believe, the horse is upside down now, right there. These images run down off this rock, people. Oh, here's the image of the ape right here. And then there's an image of a man-like character down here. But there's the image of the ape there, already encrypted. And if you look, there's actually an image of a woman that is there as well, too, on top of the ape's head. Already here in this rock formation. And this is what our existence was about. If you think about it, people, what makes better sense? Well, this was man-made, of course, now. But this artist, Belgium, that created these heads, knew that he was altering and creating that of a face based on our faces. Look, George Washington emerging, and Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, okay, their faces emerging from that of our ancestor, which came first. And it's showing you that these are the current likenesses of mankind. And that, people, is what the true nature of the presidential monuments that Mt.Rushmore represent. This was already a symbolic area where these representations were being made of beings from which we evolved that were already present. And when they chose this area to sculpt these heads, it's saying a statement to the divine beings, to those celestial beings that are in space, that look, this is what our faces look like now based on what we emerged from. And the overall picture is right there. The likeness of man and the causing party, which is that of the mother of creation. Look at that, people. Her woman's face, her eye. Look at that. Her crusty lips. That witch-like woman right there. And with a snake on her head. The mountain transforms into a snake, a serpent on her head. Turn it back around. You don't have to do anything. Look. The face of a man. And it shows these genes, the direction from which these genes actually came from that creature through to these beings carrying that bloodline. Now, George Washington and these other 4 presidents that made it this far and that have carried a bloodline, have contributed genetically to altering the genes of that of mankind, and this is why George Washington appears in the Washington Monument in one of the Capitol buildings with his divine presence in the dome of one of those buildings. He knew who he was genetically and knew where we evolved from genetically, and the artist that created this, or the sculptor that created this, knew of George Washington's story, and whoever commissioned him to do this, he knew. And this artist is also have ties to the Vatican as well, people. Look at that. I even see something else. I swear I see something else there now that I'm starting to see things now. I see a shadow of a face right there, and the eye and the throat of George Washington. Oh, you know what? There was something in the throat of George Washington that I was supposed to be seeing, and I didn't. But look at that, people. A face, a reptilian face of a man. There's an image of an ape right there, people. Look. With a woman figure right there. And then other morphine beings coming down. But forget all of that. The heads and the carving creates the face of a Neanderthal reptilian-like being. The entire mountainside creates that of a face of a reptilian Neanderthal-like being, where the heads of these presidents are emerging from. And Abraham Lincoln creating the top eyebrow. I guess this is Theodore Roosevelt, which would be creating the bottom eyebrow, bottom eyelid, and then Jefferson here creating the bridge of the nose, and then Washington right at the tip of the nose. And then there's the mouth of that being. We turn it back over again, people. Hold it. Let's go this way. In the reverse, Abraham Lincoln is at the bottom lip of a witch-like woman, whom I dub as the mother of creation. There's her chin. Theodore Roosevelt creates her top lip. Thomas Edison creates her, her cleft-like lip. And then you have George Washington at her nose. Well, actually, Edison would create almost like her nose. And then, you know what? George Washington creates the bump on her nose. Look. And then there's her eye. And then on her head, where I said that this was a winged being, it creates a snake on her head and creates the creature, the Medusa. And then other creatures morphing down the mountain. The resolution, the way you look at this image and you turn it, these images appear. I promise you. Now, this is not the only place that these images appear. It's my position that there's a celestial alignment in space. There's a record of these images, of these beings. Oh, by the way, you know what? With this image turned up out of the mountain, I'm going to show you something else too, before somebody else tries to stake a claim in there. If you look here, I had a head. I think there's a head right there. There's a head there. And then, I got this thing adjusted all the way up. Let's see if I can get... Where we at here, people? If you look up in there, there's faces up in these rocks. But also, when you look at it from on a side angle, the way I was showing you, you can see faces pointing up towards the sky and the rocks. It's my position that here, up in here, when you tilt this, just like you see that face there, that head, there's other heads. These are heads that are pointing up towards space, out of the rocks. Just like you see that face there. Look at that, people. Look at that head. This is not no coincidence that our four presidents create the bridge in the eye area. And look, here they create the nose, the bridge of the nose, and the eye shape of that reptilian man. It creates the eye. Okay? The bridge of the nose. And here's Washington at the tip of the nose. You see, you notice that? And you know, he's at the tip of the nose here. Then who was this? Jefferson here, right next to Washington, right? And then you have Roosevelt, right? And then Lincoln. And how Lincoln is at the top of the eyebrow. Then there's the eye. You know, I'm trying to play this back in my mind, because then there's the eye socket of the man. Then there's the bottom at the eye socket, and then you have Roosevelt that creates the bottom eye socket area. Okay. And then going into the bridge of the nose, you have Jefferson, and then Washington at the tip, and then finally going down to the mouth. But when you turn it over in the reverse scenario, let's play this back. You got the witch-like woman's chin. You got Washington at her bottom lip, her open mouth, and then you have Roosevelt here. Oh, Roosevelt would actually create, you know what, maybe it is that instead of her crusty lips, maybe Roosevelt is creating her teeth. And then coming off into the open mouth like an older woman without no teeth. That's still yet to be debated, but I mean, it's defined as genuine, people. And then you got Jefferson here creating the bridge area of her nose, and then her nose, and then Washington's head's creating a bump on her nose, and then you have an eye there. And then you have the serpent in the mountain already created that creates her head with the other mutations that are already there. This is the reason why you have the separation between Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt, because it creates the mouth dubs as an eye socket, and this is reminiscent in my finds and my decodings of Renaissance artist artworks and these multiple dimensional images where other body parts dub as others, dub as like with the eye and the mouth play in a morphine way in the image. This is the same exact thing that's being done. Now, let me show you something about this, because I said that this is something that is similar to that I found in space. Several years ago, I posted this image on my alien UFO site. This is the Carina Nebula Paranormal. Okay. There's skull. There's an eye in the skull. There's a horn out of the skull. And then there's another skull, a head coming out of it. A horn being with a point on his skull. He's wearing a skull cap. There's another point. Reminds me of that little dude Kazoo on the Flintstones. You see that? So this guy's head is sticking out of this skull. This is the Carina Nebula Paranormal, people. Then you have this skull here, which is the bottom portion is reptilian. And then you come over, there's the nose coming around the head. And then there's the eye socket. And if you look in the eye, there's other multidimensional faces in the eye. These multidimensional places and existences show us what is here and what's happening in our world. This reptilian-like face, these faces that I just described are similar to the faces, and I drew these 2 years ago. That are here when you rotate this image. Hold on. That reptilian face right there. This face right there is similar in likeness to this face that I drew 2 years ago, that appears in a transparent way in the gas matter in the Carina Nebula Paranormal. Along with this face, there's a face of an ape, and as cartoonish as these things look, people, these images are actually there. And here, I done discovered them to be now in Mt.Rushmore with our presidents. Now, where else do they appear? Because the ape and that witch-like woman, well, at Stonehenge in Great Britain, in that image of Merlin, in a painting of Merlin and a giant building Stonehenge, this same exact images that I've decoded for you here is there with Merlin. Merlin, notice that Merlin's feet, not Merlin, the giant's feet is straddling the rock. Well, that rock is the snout of an ape. If you Google the image of giant helping Merlin build Stonehenge, why is the face of an ape encrypted? There's the bottom lip, there's the mouth line here, coming back out of the mouth line across the snout of the ape coming up, and two perfectly depicted eyes, and this is that monkey brow right there of the ape coming around, and the ape's face is even disproportioned from that of the rest of the painting to show you that ape-like presence in the monkey's face. It's right there. Now, the woman is right next to the ape. She also appears over here at this column post, and there's a serpent there as well, two people, along with other images. Look, Google the image, and this portion here represents, that lighter portion represents that of the ape. So why is the giant's feet straddling that? Because the giant is telling you that he is bridged over the ape African ancestor, and new building blocks are being set in place. And Stonehenge is the location where it was being done, where mankind was genetically being altered. I have a wonderful video here on Stonehenge too, by the way, people. Now, as you recall in my last video about Merlin and the giant building Stonehenge, these lines were added afterwards. This is not the artist's work. Somebody wanted to hide from you. You see these lines added on this wonderful painting here? Look at this. These black lines. You know why they were added? Even here on Merlin? Because they throw you off of, now look, if you look at the giant's actual leg, you will see faces. You see that witch-like face there? I'm at her chin. There's her mouth line, there's her nose, and there's her eye, and there's coming over her forehead, and then we go up and there's a monkey going towards his kneecap, all along in here. Take away these delusional lines which they put there to keep you from seeing these encryptions from the artist that the artist created. That's the reason why these are here, people, to hide the encryptions. This is why you see these crazy lines on this wonderful painting, because it hides the truth. Even with the boy's head, it lets you know who they're genetically identified as. Now, these genetics that are here, that the giant's feet are straddled over, are showing that he has been genetically contaminated, and is showing the genes running up his legs like a genetic bloodline, like a genetic grail, like a genetic infusion. The giant was embodied, and now Merlin, showing Merlin and this boy being bridged over, and this boy represents that of our black man, our African man. And if you were to look in his head, I'm almost 100% sure you'll see the image of that of an ape. And this is what is being hid. And I'll tell you more about that later, how I know that offhand without really confirming it. I can confirm myself too, by the way, people. But go here, and that same ape and that woman, and along with other creatures too, by the way. There's the snout of the, and there's this nostril of the ape there. There's the ape's forehead. There's the ape's mouth. Is here in Mount Rushmore. Every Renaissance artist is telling us the same exact thing. Now, I don't know how old this image is. What, maybe 16th, 17th century? I don't know. And look at this. This faded image of this woman's hair, the eye, look at this, the long neckline, there's the eye there, coming around the face, and then the head. Why in the world can you find, and well, you know what, I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to leave that alone. But my position is that Mount Rushmore is not about, well, it's about the four presidents who genetically altered that of mankind. But Mount Rushmore is really, really about. Now I'm starting to see other things now. These faces from which we evolved. Right there. This entire face. Right there. And when you turn it upside down, this witch-like woman's face right there. Now, let me take you into space. I want to take you in space and show you. I want to take you in space. These locations, people, these multidimensional images, there's an exchange of information between such locations like this and with that, and space where stars are supposed to be being created. There's a transference of information, and thereby, almost like where we receive signals for television, for radio, broadcasting, these images appear in space similar way. Remember that bridge of that nose of that guy? And I said that it created, well, that's the woman there. Here's the reptilian like snout of this guy here. You see that? The way that Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson and Roosevelt create the bridge of that reptilian guy's nose right there, and then Lincoln actually creates the top eyebrow. Here's the Carina Nebula Paranormal in Mystic Mountain. This is a closed eye of a reptilian ape. Here's his top eyelid. Here's his bottom eyelid, and this is the separating line. If that slot was open, it would show an eye. Well, really space, but it's showing you the image of that of an eye. Here's the reptilian wrinkles that comes down that creature's nose, and there's an image of a witch-like woman. Now, this image, people, I posted again some 3 or 4 years ago. Okay, and there's the reptilian snout of that being. Here's the mouth area, the mouth and cheek area. Here's coming over top of his top lip, and Mystic Mountain, which actually creates that of a hand, is shoved through the ape's mouth area and going in an upward position. Now, check this out, people. Check this out. This is the whole head of an ape. And Mystic Mountain is shooting through the mouth of the ape, like that of almost like a penis. Okay. And then there are other morphing. Here's the bottom portion of the ape's bottom chin area and cheek area down at the bottom. Okay, and you see the separating lines. Okay, eye, nose area. Okay, nostril, mouth, and then Mystic Mountain, I'm telling you, is a hand with fingers bent back on it. This is the wrist. And amongst the other things, too, people, there's multidimensional images there. Fingers bent back, and they actually have talons on the fingers. Now, same image, people. I'm going to turn and show you something else. There is an image of a horned woman, whom I like to call Mystique, and I'll tell you at another time how I arrived at that name. But there's her neck, there's her bottom chin area, and I have better pictures of this on my on my Carina Nebula video. There's her nose, there's her eye socket, her face appears, and this wrist that I told you on the hand becomes the head of a horse as well, and then there's a monkey on the back. I mean, it's a whole lot, people, that you have to realize, which is here. They're multi-dimensional images that are overlaying each other, and if you can see a darkened image there coming towards her head, there's an eye, nose, mouth. These images, people, is what our existence is all about. Now, the same image, I'm going to take it, oh, this is her boob and bust area here, and this is her waistline coming down, and her left arm is outstretched in that direction, and her right arm is raised up over top of the head of another ape image, which is over here. And I actually did a video on relating this image here because she has a star in her in her ear to that of the gem image. The gem image. You have to see the video, people, because it's too much. Now, but hold on. I'm going to turn this image again. Now look at this. Now look at everything that I done gave you. I gave you the ape. This is Mystic Mountain. There's an image of a man. I don't know if you can actually see that. Like, looks like Newton from Hercules. There's his nose, his eye socket, and there's his horns. Okay, you know the newt that they call from Hercules? There's an image of that guy there. There's other things there too, people, but I'm not going to go there. But okay, we got our ape head. The entire image is that of an ape, showing you how these creatures evolve. Okay, there's faces of that. Now check this out, people. The same image. Now I gave you a woman, and I have clear images online. There's a woman there. Right here, there's her head, there's her neck. She even has a star as an earring. Okay, there's her cleavage. Okay, I'm not going to go back there. Now look, no tricks, people. Look, the same image, I'm going to turn it upside down. Now, I got to back off. Here's the head of a ram with his horns, snout, mouth is almost like busted out open, teeth, open mouth. The ram is attached to the head or the forehead of a one-eyed being. There's its mouth, its chin, and it has its whole neck coming down through here, and it's something like you see out of sci-fi. A man's head attached to the head of a ram, with horns and all complete, mouth, the whole nine. And I can show you the location of that. Oh, I'm going to show you the location of that in 1 second if I can find a clear image. And I didn't bring. Here's a highlight of it right here. I backed off of it. The neckline, outstretched shoulder, there's the chin, there's the bottom lip, there's the mouth, there's the top lip. The head is coming up, and then there's the calf head. I separated it right there. Attaching that. All of those images I just described, multidimensional images, is in the Carina Nebula, people. Just as I described. Skull protruding out, another skull. It's a picture glyph in this gas matter, and I can describe to you exactly what it is. There's the woman right there. She becomes a redhead. You see that? That's the head of the cow that's busted open. I mean, the mouth of the cow that's open. I mean, the ram. And look, it creates a redhead. There's her face, outstretched arm, and the cloud matter creates an evening gown for her. There's her earring, hair blown back. You see that? Her arms are outstretched, and the energy is turned around and coming over here to this guy. Right here. A sharing of energy as if they're waltzing in cloud matter. And then all of these creations are shown in between. Now, some of those creations that are shown. Remember I told you about the skull? Well, right there in that area of that skull, right here. This is the Carina Nebula Paranormal. There's the woman. I highlighted her again right here. You see her? Right there, I highlighted her. You see her right there? There's the skull right there. There's a skull. There's 3 skulls. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And this one has the bottom portion of the reptilian. Bottom lip right there, top lip, and this even has an Adam's apple right there, and reptilian. Okay? Now, that is subtle. And that's the Carina Nebula Paranormal, people. You can Google this for yourself. Now, what is there? This is what is there in that little area. I'm going to just this area right here. Right here. Right there. Just here. Highlight it. I'm going to show you the multi-dimensional images that I drew from that area. Just a few. Let me get my pen. Okay. There's the half a skull right there. That half a skull is showing you that it emerged from that of the dinosaur. There is like a duck-billed dinosaur right here. Well, this is the horn of the duck-billed dinosaur right there. There's the duck bill of it right there. You see it? Okay? That's the snout of the dinosaur right there. Now, check this out. See the dinosaur, people? Right there? Now check this out. In that skull of that duck-billed dinosaur is emerging, there's the eye, is the snout of a triceratops. Right here. All three of those skulls together, tied together, shows you the images and likenesses of mankind and how mankind got his skull. This creature is depicted as well. It even goes back and shows, we all know that the duck-billed dinosaur is a creature from which the horse emerged from. There's even an image of a horse in the gas matter with his snout piercing that rump gas matter of that of mankind, with his arm raised back with the head in his hand, which this image appears similarly in that of the Sistine Chapel, created by I believe Michelangelo. I don't know if he created him, but this appears down there. The great white shark, the baboon, and then I like this over here, a man looking on as well. All multi-dimensional images in the place where stars are being supposedly supposed to be being created. It's my position that in these locations, what is actually being created is information that is gathered from that of worlds that previously existed. What worlds previously existed? It's my position that these life forms emerged from Venus, Mercury, down Earth, and it's my position that Mars is the next in line to become unthawed by the sun, and similar life forms that we have in our world will appear there. Possibly more contaminated than what we are now, because it's my position that NASA is there on its missions to contaminate that place, because they know that we are evolving from planet to planet, meaning from Mercury to Venus, from Venus to Earth, and from Earth to Mars, and so forth and so with. Because these life forms, or these eggs, are being hatched, being incubated by the sun in the order of their orbit with the sun. So our planet's orbits with the sun are in the order that they are being periodically thawed out, and life then, which I'm telling you is in the form of bacteria, which is hatching out on these planets through the different levels of the incubation process with that of the energy of the sun and the energy of the planet's core that is in question, that all of this is actually occurring. Now, back to Mount Rushmore. It's my position that these people are genetically manipulating Earth's creations, because they are aware of everything that I just told you, which is occurring in space. And this is why there is this phenomenal knowledge, higher knowledge, with the likes of Da Vinci, possibly Einstein, Sir Isaac Newton, whom I linked to this, and these artists that create such fabulous work, and these remarkable stories about Jesus and other biblical figures and these other divine figures that are supposed to be descending back upon our world in a divine way. It's my position that all of that ancient text, everything ancient in our world, I can do the similar thing with, because it all references the same thing. The genetic becoming of mankind, and how mankind's genes are being continuously manipulated, contaminated, and bridged over. People, can I be any more clear than that? Mount Rushmore is not about these heads. These heads are a smaller portion of a larger picture. The image of man and the image of woman. This is why them heads right there, Roosevelt and Lincoln's head, are separated right there on that corner to create a mouth cavity and an eye cavity. Because when you rotate this back up, it creates the eye of a man. In this position, it creates the mouth of a woman. Not just any woman, the mother of creation, the Medusa-like image that is global around our world. And this, if you Google ancient Swedish rocks or stones, you will see this woman as Medusa, and many others. In the Egypt glyphs, the snake woman and all of that, this is her, right here. That woman is right there, with the serpent on her head. The serpent even has its eyebrows. Top lip, mouth cut in, bottom chin, and cleverly hooked to the forehead of this woman, her eye socket, her nose, of the bump on her nose, her witch-like nose, created by George Washington. Her nose is created by Thomas Jefferson, and her either lip or teeth created by Theodore Roosevelt on the top row, and then on the bottom layer, after the mouth cavity, is that of Washington, which creates her bottom lip area. Her cheek and face separation, her face separations are uniquely, cleverly cut in by the sculptor, utilizing the elongated chest area, cavity area of that of Washington, which creates the facial expression of this woman in this direction, and of the same man, George Washington. It creates the same exact line, the facial lines, for that of mankind's image, where the eye is here, Washington is at the top brow, Theodore Roosevelt is at the lower eye socket level, and Thomas Jefferson is creating the what you call in the nose, almost like that Rocky-like nose after your nose been broken. And then finally George Washington creates the point on the nose, and then the mouth is created by that of the serpent, which is that of the woman. This is what multidimensional images is all about, people. And I can even see something in here. However, from 3 heads, 4 heads, is it? 4 heads? 4 heads. And a possible wing band, like I was telling you, because I found the wing band also in the Grand Canyon. See my video on that. I brought you the image of man, and the image of woman, and reptilian. for which all cause for the existence of these four men, which I'm telling you, genetically, we go in and I can show you now that they have, I can conclusively show you how they genetically contributed to altering the genetics of the American people. My name is Gerone Wright. You're watching my Geronification channel, and I don't think I can be no clearer than that. Thank you for watching. Share my video.